After like Spring Split's failures and the whole of last year as well, like the whole of 2016, it feels really good to be back on top.
Oh no, they step right back into it, and Soaz says, get in the pit, everybody! Glacial Prison opened up, so is the curtain call, but it's a little too late, as Rekkles picks up one, and Caps blows up Nuke Duck. Fnatic down the mid lane.
Even though like I maybe didn't have my best year last year in terms of individual performance, I've always been like one of the best AD carries in Europe. So the fact that I'm able to get the results with it as well feels really good.
Fnatic like to roam together this game. On the hunt popped, and so is the Glacial Fissure. Means he is going nowhere. Rekkles on a roll.
I think our game against Unicorns is going to be a lot about the bot lane. I think Hylissang is like one of the best supports, if not the best support in Europe, so we really need to look out for him. But at the same time, he's really crazy, so we can kind of plan around that and just bait him in and get some kills going, and then we'll take over the game from bot lane already.
And welcome back to the series between the Unicorns of Love and Fnatic. UOL have the edge. And the guys you're seeing on screen, by the way, is the secondary fan group for the Unicorns of Love. Okay. There are 4 or 5 members of the Love Hurts crew here today. Those 25 people are part of the Chaos Elite fan crew. There's so many fans for UOL, they're bringing in multiple armies, gentlemen.
That is actually very impressive. More fan clubs for Unicorns of Love. I mean,
well, they're a fun team to watch, right?
Yeah. You know, you can't really blame them.
I loved how hearing in that Fnatic or Rekkles saying that we're preparing around the bottom and we think it's going to be a big deal. I feel like in game 1, Samux was a big part of that. Hylissang too. But can you really prepare for crazy? Because Hylissang, he goes for so many random engagements that worked out so beautifully for the Unicorns of Love. I feel like it's a difficult strategy to predict.
Yeah, definitely is. So last game, Fnatic also decided to ban the Elise over the Cho'gath, and of course the Cho'gath ended up being very impactful for Vizicsacsi in that game. The Maokai as well, of course, for Mr. Xerxe in the jungle. 2 big picks in the meta, and normally teams don't want to see both of them go to one side. I think that's going to be a change for Fnatic in this one. Obviously they are on blue side, so they don't have to worry about banning the Elise this time around. Unicorns took care of that one. Gragas ban as well, so Zach is still left open as one of the big picks.
Let's see whether or not Unicorns remove it from the pool. Fnatic had side selection, hence the reason they're on blue. Rakan not available to Hylissang, as well as Thresh. Not going to first pick that this time.
There could be a Cho'gath ban coming out from the Unicorns of Love. I feel like that it is becoming a higher and higher priority for both these teams.
But then you give away Zach for free.
That's
Maybe
very
they
true.
leave.
It's very, very true, yeah.
Yeah, I think
this
is a smarter choice.
Cho'gath was first picked by Unicorns in game 1, and Fnatic will do exactly the same, gentlemen.
Yeah, I think you should. Again, another great thing is you can flex him, both top and jungle. I wonder if we're even going to see mid lane at some point, in case you really need
Funnily enough, I think he's a great pick into Talon as well, but we...
Hey, there you go. Maybe it would have mid lane against it.
I feel like Unicorns, they should consider going for the Maokai themselves now, largely because it is a big risk, as we saw in game 1, to let Cho'gath and Maokai come through. I feel like one of the big things that we are seeing about it is it's just so difficult for carries to deal with when you have this duo running into your face. It becomes super difficult to like do anything other than focus them.
Yeah, no, especially also with Cho'gath specifically, where it's like, okay, so he's building tanky, so is Demarcus, so is Sejuani, so is Gragas. Most of these champions won't deal a lot of late game damage, except for Cho'gath, because of course his damage scales off their HP, so he becomes a massive threat, and yes, we have a Taric. Really want to see this. I think it is an underrated champion right now in this teamfight meta, where he can have so much value, especially in these comps that want to dive onto the backline, because there's Righteous Glories and Talisman and all that kind of stuff, so everyone is sped up running at the enemy backline, and you can't even hit the champions because they're shielded by the Taric. It's really hard to teamfight against.
It certainly is, and we did see it come out over in North America. But I think that Taric could be something that really has a lot of benefit for Fnatic. As we saw the Unicorns of Love, they love to teamfight and they're very good at it. And as Deficio said, like the anti-team fighting capabilities of Taric are spectacular. And he did get a few buffs this patch, which we can talk a little bit more about once we get into game.
So what Unicorns seem to do here is say they want more engage. If you want more primary engage, you go for things like Sejuani over Maokai. If you already have a lot of primary engage from, let's say, a Rakan on Alistar, then Maokai Maokai is actually better because he's follow-up engage. Seems like they want someone who can start the fight on his own. That's why they lock in this one. But they obviously still need to be afraid of that Maokai you highlighted, because if it is Cho'gath top lane with the Maokai jungle, and it's most likely Cho'gath top because Nara's banned away as the counter pick, then the Maokai is super important and Unicorns might have to ban it.
Yeah, I feel like that it would make a lot of sense, but right now it seems that Unicorns of Love are focusing on trying to take caps off of one of these strong mid lane bans. I wonder if they ban away the Orianna here as well. I feel like they're looking towards a Corki right now, based on the bans that they have set up for themselves, and that could mean that caps goes to something like a Talia, so they do have that scaling damage, and then I think it would be good for them to round things out with a Maokai, so they'd have a really good late game team fighting.
Or do they want their Talon again as a last pick if they see the same Orianna?
Wow,
then Fnatic say, you know what? Don't even want to deal with it, so they ban the way. Obviously, were a lot of champions they had troubles against in the last game, not just the Talon specifically. Vizicsacsi is famous for his Shen in Europe. He's happy to play it, unlike Soaz, who's a bit unhappy when he gets to play it. So,
despite how good he is at that champion, Shen for Vizicsacsi, 5 times this split, undefeated.
Yeah, but now we need that Maokai from Fnatic. So you have the Maokai Cho'gath combo. I think this would be a mistake for them.
Right now I'm looking, because the possibilities are that that's either a top Galio and then you have the jungle Cho, or that's a mid lane Galio.
Very true, very true. Then it would be fine.
And then if it is a mid lane Galio, then there's the possibility of having as an answer to something like the Corki that Unicorns could be considering. But right now I'm thinking, like, Fnatic's damage output is surprisingly low. Like, we talk about how Cho'gath, yes, he has a lot of burst damage, but he's not really that DPS hyper carry later on.
All right, it looks to be the Galio mid. Now, Jarvan does offer damage as well. Of course, Black Cleaver, Titanic Hydra, it is good damage against some of the squishy targets, but a lot of it is on Rekkles right now. But then we have to remember there's a feast as well coming in from Broxah, so there's damage to deliver. Let's see what we get here. This is a kind of big some of the European mid laners I've talked about. The Kassadin against Galio, where, again, you don't really have any kill pressure against the Kassadin, but it seems like he's going away from it.
I feel like the Corki is just a safer option overall in the mid lane matchup. It gives you good scaling too. The thing that I'm most concerned about for Unicorn's side is the level 6 potential of this Jarvan Galio with the follow-up of the Cho'gath. There are so many great ways to engage from the side of Fnatic.
That's always the big thing about a lot of bruisers and tanks. In the mid-game, just due to base numbers, they have actually enough damage to kill squishy targets. Yeah, full late game, it might be a lot harder for them to do it, but in the mid-game, if they can keep forcing with Jarvan engages followed by Galio ulti, it is easy for Fnatic to start the fight.
But it's super difficult for Samux late game to really be able to deal with all these tanks on the front line too. We thought it was hard for Rekkles in game 1. Well, now there are 4 tanks on the side of Fnatic. He's going to have to find his way through.
That's why he has the Corki on his side, trying to help him kill that one target right in front of them. A Braum for protection as well, together with Shen and Sejuani. So it is very much a, hey, let's babysit these 2 AD carries and see if they can kill the enemy tanks before our tanks die, and that's kind of the game you're going to succeed. So
difficult, and of course on the side of Fnatic, they're going to have that Cosmic Radiance from Jesiz Taric. You see the team comps on your screens, guys. 5-0 is Vizicsacsi's Shen. 4-0 is Soaz's Jarvan. One of these top laners will discover their first loss here in the summer split. Do you guys believe in Fnatic? Join the Fnatic faithful, hashtag FNC win. Or do you believe in the Unicorns of Love with hashtag UOL win? The Chaos Elite here in Berlin are screaming for the Unicorns. Will the Unicorns bounce back from a defeat to Rocket to take down the #1 team in Europe, Fnatic?
We had such an exciting game 1. We're gonna have another exciting game 2. It's all about team fighting once more as Roman warms up the crowd once again.
Just like in Hamburg, just like in Hamburg.
He's preparing them for war.
So, while I would have loved to see, you know, the Cho'gath top with the Maokai jungle and damage deal in the mid lane for Fnatic, they're still drafting a composition that can be almost impossible to deal with in that mid to early late game with so many tanks. able to actually just make sure they never die against these two AD carries with the Taric ulti as well.
Oh, that's so annoying.
This might not even be about Rekkles as an AD carry. What he can do, it's more about can Soaz and Broxah and Caps get onto Exileh or Samux and actually kill them in time before they die on their own. They're going to just charge forward 24/7 and stretch to try and get Exileh and Samux.
Gentlemen, am I hearing that we're going to have a lot of team fights, a lot of back and forth?
Yeah.
Am I hearing that this could be like game one?
It was going to be very similar to game one.
Yes!
It could be a lot like game
And
one.
I love how, just going back to what you were saying about Rekkles, I feel like he's just an ulti. He's almost like, he's like, I'll hold them here for you guys while you can just do all the damage.
He's almost also the bait, being like, hey guys, you should try and dive me, I'm the AD carry, but it's like, no, it's actually all about these big tanks getting onto Exileh and Samux and kill them, while of course for Unicorns it's kite back, kite back. Make sure you get Ren stacks, you get of course the Corki late game damage to kill the tanks of Fnatic.
And Unicorns do have a good way to disengage and peel, because they do have the Braum, his shield, his ultimate, really good tools for just denying team fights and saying, no, we no longer want to fight you. On top of that, you have the Kalista ultimate to pull the Braum out of sticky situations, and there's the Shen ulti too, if things get a little too hairy, which we saw won many fights for Fnatic in game one.
We have to remember also Exileh adding some armor and magic penetration with this Gatling gun in these fights against some of the tanks, building of course the normal crit build from Corki to try and get as much late game damage as possible.
Caps with a great trade there in the middle lane. Justice Punch into Winds of War, places a ward over the wall. That's going to spot out Xerxe, who's now on the Sejuani. As we take a look, Rekkles and Jesiz running down Hylissang. They got the early level 2 in the advantage. It's not over yet. Broxah now running down Xerxe, scaring that Poro Rider out of his own jungle.
Yeah, you can see top lane pushing for Fnatic, mid lane pushing for Fnatic as well. Meaning that Xerxe is under pressure, but Vizicsacsi's on his way in.
Oh, Broxah's actually going to smite it up, gets caught by the Shadow Dash taunts. Not over yet. Broxah's going to look to escape, but he does have his flash if he needs to get over the wall. Oh, manages to get long-range stunned. Now turns the Rupture around. Support from Soaz coming down, and we're already up to some interesting moves in the early game.
And this all comes from the super leash that Broxah was given down near his red buff. He was able to do a very full clear, get that early level 3. Xerxe, he even delayed himself a little bit around his own blue buff, kind of hiding around the Gromps, wasting a little bit of time. He's now been denied. Double level 3 in the top side, and Broxah and Soaz, they're trying to put a lot of pressure down onto Chachi.
Chachi with full HP though, would have been a crazy dive to try and pull off here for Fnatic, so they do step away.
They managed to escape. So lots of interesting moves to keep Xerxe down. No flash, a little bit behind. Same for Broxah. While all that's going on, a lot of trading in this bottom lane. We haven't seen Taric too much, and is that a wind speakers? Is that standard expected on 7-14, guys?
Well, one of the things, or one of the changes that you did see to Taric was how his heal now works. The fact that it has less charges at early levels, but can get more later on, means that you do want to max it first. And the thing about his passive is that every time he uses a passive and hits you in the face, he gets a little bit more attack speed, but it also stacks a charge of his healing. So the more aggressive you are in the lane, the more in the face of your opponent, the more charges you get, the more heals you have, and basically the stronger your trading pattern is during the laning phase.
Oh, let's see whether or not it works out. That's a very good dazzle onto Hilly. Already flashing away Rekkles. Teleports coming down from either Soaz or Caps. It's actually Caps. Justice Punch onto Hylissang. He's already used his flash. Winds of War and the attack. The Unbreakable blocks the damage, and Hylissang escapes with his life.
Stays alive for now. To go back to the wind speakers as well, some of the Korean Taric players really like the Ardent Sensor Rush into Redemption. It's not about him being very tanky, but more the fact that, again, with his heal, he's able to actually buff up teammates and get a massive Redemption heal. So when you go into the fight, you have your ulti running first, so you can't take damage. By the time ulti runs out and you can start taking damage, Redemption comes down for a massive heal, getting buffed by the Ardent Sensor. And then suddenly, you feel like you don't deal any damage against this Taric here in the fight. So I think that's the build he's going for with the wind speakers.
Well, keep an eye on that as it continues to progress. Teleport was used by Caps. He was shoving in Exileh quite heavily, so hasn't really been hurt by the CS. 5-3 is the difference now. And manages to stay close to the Exileh.
And I actually like that Exileh is running Cleanse here, because what you will see normally is their Galio would charge in, land his taunt onto this little Corki here, and then there's a follow-up knock-up coming from a Cho'gath gank, and then Corki just dies before he can do anything. So I like the respect cleanse against that taunt from Caps in the mid lane, making it harder to kill Exileh.
All right, Caps now under some pressure. Good prediction here from Hilly. Knows exactly where that Justice Punch will go. And Hylissang on his first roam. I think Veduis quoted, every time Hylissang backs, he will instantly roam, something we've become extremely accustomed to.
And it's the way in which the bottom lane disjoints their backs as well. Notice how Hylissang, he was forced back because he nearly died. But that meant that Samux has a slight level advantage. He stuck around in lane for a little while as we see a gank up top lane.
All right, Soaz has flash available to him. Gonna get stunned up, holds onto his flash for now, flags and drags to safety. Difficult to kill Soaz, a man that has escaped far scarier situations.
So you're seeing how it's quite difficult for both teams to really make stuff happen in the early game, because trying to gank a Corki is difficult. He has no innate hard crowd control. In the top lane, trying to gank a Jarvan, he has a lot of escapes, but the same goes for Broxah. You don't really have the damage this early on to kill someone like a Shen, or the damage to be able to shut down the Corki when you have a Galio. So both junglers right now, their main priority is to get deep vision and just allow their opponents to have information of where the enemy jungler is. We see an all in top.
Oh, they are actually moving up here with Broxah and Caps as well. They won't get anything, Quickshot flashes away, but funny enough, both teams are actually happy. Just farming in the early game. The tank comp on one side, they want to get to the mid game. Samux, probably was he trying to time a flash?
He may have been.
Oh, that's an oopsie if ever I've seen one.
Actually, no, he has a flash on D, so he was trying to do something else.
FYI, Xerxe level 4 to Broxah level 6. So all of those early game shenanigans playing in favor of Fnatic's jungler. Now, I don't know if Fnatic would have seen that flash from Samux. Either way, they've decided to swap away, and Rekkles and Jesiz has made their way to this top lane.
Surprised that they would go for this early swap, but they want to try and open up the map a little bit more.
It's you see such an alpha move from Samux, literally saying, I don't need my summoner spell for this lane. You get scared, man. You step away from that.
It's about sending that message.
It really is. So, of course, Fnatic, they back away from Samux. He's pretty crazy, and they go top lane.
All right, Stand United comes down from Vizicsacsi actually to escape that tower. Jump down to the bottom lane. We're going to have a little bit of a tower trade. So with that in mind, I want to talk about Vizicsacsi in Exile very briefly, or we will as soon as we come out of this. Tower first blood available. It looks like Unicorns of Love definitely had the early start and the numbers advantage. So tower first blood easily secured here by the Unicorns of Love.
Worth it.
Follow thereafter.
Samux used that flash for the first tower down in the bottom lane, and Unicorns of Love will be happy with that one.
As we continue to see this back and forth, I want to just quickly talk about Chachi in Exile. In game 1, the two of them really showed up. Exile was the guy we had our eye on to begin with because of the struggles that he's faced recently in the early game in the laning phase.
And he played Talon.
And he played a surprising pick, but he made it work, right? Like had a good early game and a good late game. Difficult mid game, but I think the game was a bit crazy, right?
To be fair, the fact that he matched Vizicsacsi on the mighty Cho'gath in terms of damage per minute is impressive for a Talon. Not typically what you'd expect, but just goes to show how strong champions like Cho'gath are right now. Fnatic, though, they're looking for a play up top side.
All right, Chain of Corruption is available. Flash comes out from Jesiz. Samux is the target. Chain of Corruption gonna get fired in a moment or two. It's a Fnatic party. And Broxah gets first blood, easily going to chase down Hylissang. But what can UOL do elsewhere on the map? They're not set up yet.
They're trying to push down mid for the time being. Hylissang, he's just doing what he can to buy some time. I feel like he's still going to end up losing his life. But I feel like Fnatic are a little mad after game 1. They really wanted to shut down Samux. That may have been an alpha move, but he's certainly the beta AD carry right now as Caps comes in.
All right, the Shield of Duran comes down from Caps. That's going to taunt up Exile. Flashing his cleanse still available. Dazzle not going to catch him on the Valk. And Jesiz managed to back away. So as we get to 10 minutes, Unicorns of Love concede 2 kills.
So what happened top lane basically was after Fnatic killed the tower, they obviously left a few wards up there and then stepped away first, but that actually meant there was a deep TP ward to use. So when Unicorns then start pushing the lane back out, Fnatic just hiding. They know, okay, we can actually get multiple members up here very quickly. You can see this ward on the minimap used by Caps. It's just a great move here in a lane swap where Unicorns think they're safe because it's just a swap back. They expect Fnatic to go to the bottom side, but nope, they hide, they get kills. Bot lane fighting now, Chachi is gonna get feasted.
Yeah, there's a feast indeed. Broxah's gonna look for that.
Oh, it's gone cool there.
Comes down. Well,
I guess
he's gonna need one more auto. Manages to secure it. Either way, Fnatic 3-0. It's a 1,500 gold lead. They got CS, advantages and level advantage. This is a good spot for Fnatic.
And this is great proactive early game moves from Fnatic because one of the big deficits the UOL often fall into is solo laners getting caught out. Chachi in the past has been very heavily focused in terms of early gang pressure, and Exileh, he kind of lost his lane fairly regularly. But now that the map's opened up this early on, we're seeing how well Fnatic are at just setting up deep vision and finding these picks onto the unicorns that aren't showing the full amount of respect towards their opposition.
Let's also remember there's double TP in Fnatic, there's a Galio ulti, a lot of tools to get across the lanes very quickly to keep forcing these fights here. Soaz will step away, we get another trade. This was what's supposed to happen before for Unicorn. So like, yeah, we go top lane, trade a tower, Fnatic goes bot lane for the tower, but obviously Fnatic were hiding in that brush, got the 2 kills before that and make it even better for Fnatic.
Fnatic were hiding in that bush. There's a line I've never heard before. But the two teams...
You are new to the UOL, yes?
split the map in half. It is 2 towers to 2. Fnatic have priority on Dragon and get some chip damage in the mid-outer turret.
And because they were able to take the tower bot down first, they actually had priority over mid lane too. Rather than rush it down, they got a bit of chip damage, and they were able to get themselves the first Ocean Drake of the game. So Fnatic, with a very clean early game so far, they have the kill lead, they have the gold lead. Everything looking pretty favorable for them as the Unicorns start to group up.
And as we said in Champ Select, some of these tanks here, they spike earlier than some of these AD carries because they need like 1 tank item and suddenly they're really out to kill. They benefit a lot from getting early armor and magic resist to just reduce even more damage.
And levels.
And levels, of course, for the skills here and the base damage on them. So here in the mid game with Fnatic already winning early, it's going to make it even harder for Unicorns to actually get multiple items on these carries here. Exileh, he's currently telling his team, I need 4 items, guys.
Yeah.
Just give me about half an hour and then I'm going to be fine. But Fnatic are not going to give him half an hour.
No, I want to see them now be very proactive with their ultimates. Jarvan plus Galio, such an amazing engage tool. And then you have the follow-up of the Cho'gath, the Rekkles ulti. We need to see an early Righteous Glory coming out from Broxah so that there is that reliable follow-up. But the reality is Fnatic are now in a position to force these fights just like UOL were in game 1.
So many tools for Fnatic to utilize, and you touched on that Jarvan a moment ago. 4-0 for Soaz, Chachi 5-0 on Shen. Taking a look at the teleports, Chachi's got Stand United and TP up. Caps and Soaz about to have access, so maybe once the 2 Fnatic teleports are up and available, they can look to set up a play. You can see Soaz down the bottom lane, Jesiz and Caps waiting in the river. Jesiz is going to get tagged up, going to get stunned up potentially. Here comes Broxah. Rupture will dissuade the Unicorns moving further forward. And the Unicorns, though, they've already grouped up. They've kind of set their sights on this mid-outer here that Fnatic are trying to defend.
Classic Unicorns, group up mid, look for a fight. Right now they have caught Broxah.
A little bit of damage, gonna get the Braum passive and stun. Hero's entrance comes down for Caps, as well as the Cosmic Radiance. All of a sudden, Unicorns are low. Glacial Fissure comes out from Hylissang. The fight splits in 2. Chachi's running for his life as Hilly flashes defensively. Flash over the wall for Caps. Soaz, flag drag done. Unicorns flash out to safety. Stand United by some time. Broxah gets another. That's a 4th for Fnatic, and Exileh's running for his life. In the back end, Samux has died. Caps with the Winds of War and the help of Rekkles. The 6th for Fnatic.
And this is why we like that Fnatic comes so much, because you can see a fight like this one. It looks like Unicorns are catching out Fnatic, but then the turnaround. Taric ulti, Caps comes in with the Galio ulti, and no one dies. And suddenly, Fnatic can just go at the back line.
And look at how long Fnatic just bought time before Soaz even arrived. He didn't need to use his teleport. Caps didn't need to use his teleport because of how quickly they could just both join the fray. This composition is just so good at stalling out. Unicorns of Love waste everything, and then Fnatic get the turnaround.
Love me some Taric as well in these fights here. I've been waiting for him to return to the meta for so long. So look at this one here. They're like, oh, we're gonna kill Broxah, he's gonna die. But then you get Galio ulti plus Taric ulti from Jesiz, which means no one can actually die for a while. And it just means also Soaz can walk in here. With Cap sitting in there, the carries can't really get onto any of the targets that's low, so they have to hit the full HP Galio first, and then now another full HP guy joins in.
And it's just look at how the follow-up from Fnatic is so strong. You have the Galio ulti to knock up a few members, then you have the Varus ulti to root them all down, you then have the Cho'gath knockup followed by a silence, and then if that hasn't killed them, you have the Soaz coming in with the dunk, the knockup,
and the Taric stun.
And the Taric stun!
Sick damage.
Crazy damage. The buff, insane.
500 damage right there.
More than Kalista.
See?
We'll prove it. The fact is in the numbers, gentlemen. We've gone past 15 minutes. It's around 5,000 gold to lead. The Unicorns of Love are shattered right now. The Chaos Elite and Love Hurts crew are silenced in Berlin as Fnatic are making a statement.
Calling them out, huh?
In game 2.
Yeah, Trevor. Yeah, Trevor. Go up there and say that again.
Yeah.
And I need to call security in a moment, apparently, as it looks like Xerxe is being jumped on. And Caps is taking a lot of damage underneath the tower. Unicorns have a gigantic mountain to climb.
Exactly, and again, their comp really wants you to just kite these team fights. When you run Sejuani, Shen, like we saw in the last game, you can't kill the enemy AD carry. You don't have the damage for it in these fights, or at least the consistent damage to actually do that. So they have to rely on killing the enemy frontline first. Sadly for them, as we highlight again and again, it consists of multiple tanks with protection, with heals, with shields, everything, to make it even harder to kill them. A lot of great analysts, they're saying this current meta is who can draft the best ARAM comp, they will win. I think Fnatic in this game have shown a great ARAM composition.
Can you define ARAM comp? Because I've heard a few flames, because you're not randomly selecting them, right?
But it's all about the tanks, right? It's about how much damage you can soak up on the front line, but also how easy it is for your team to engage. Your ability to force these fights, your ability to get into the thick of things is a large part of what makes your ARAM comp so successful.
So the reason people call it ARAM comps is because the way to execute the comps is to move 5 members to one lane, which is the mid lane most of the time, and then you run towards the enemy in the mid lane, and you yell for the 3-4 guys who can engage, say, hey guys, engage, and then you jump right at the enemy team, and whoever has the strongest 5v5 team fight comp at that point will win the game, or win the fight at least, and then probably win the game as well. So yes, it is not all random, but it is all mid.
Got you. All right, thank you for that one. Just trying to keep up in my acronyms. The Fnatic seem to have the fundamentally stronger ARAM comp, as it were, in Game 2. It helps that UOL threw themselves at Fnatic and lost that gigantic team fight. So Fnatic is setting up for Dragon number 2. I'm looking down the itemization. First big pickups really across the board, actually. Everybody's got their first tier item and starting to walk towards their next one. Teleports are up for everybody, but Unicorns, they now need to play reactive. They're on the back foot, they're defending, and it's going to be difficult against all the engage that Fnatic have.
The thing is, I'm wondering when the best time for Unicorns of Love is to try and make a fight happen, because they have decent spikes right about now, but as we talked so much about, like, you don't need a lot for a tank to be strong. So the fact that Locket is already completed for Broxah, you have the Black Cleaver on top of Soaz, even though there's a Trinity Force as a Blade of the Ranking, typically you'd be saying, like, this is a great time to fight, but Fnatic is saying, you know what, it's a better time for us to fight.
Mid lane.
There's the mid lane. Where's the rest of the team? 1, 2, 3, 4 Fnatic members catching up. Samux is already going to go down. Forced to dash away to safety. His flash will come up shortly. Caps can look for the taunt. Glacial Fissure buys a few seconds of extra time. The Glacial Prison buys a few seconds extra. Now there's a knock up, the knock back, and Samux somehow is still alive. His flash is available as the Cosmic Radiance keeps all of Fnatic
full
alive.
HP.
The 4th kill of the game for Broxah. It seems Cho'gath is Cho-win.
And that's where, again, you see it's all about everyone mid lane as fast as possible. That is really the macro right now for these teams.
Also, Fnatic Faithful definitely hearing some pins drop in the audience as the Herald has been summoned.
Saving the voices for Game 3.
The inhibitor turret. This is before 20 minutes. And even without minions, this time round, Fnatic have the support of at least an epic monster. As the Chachi takes a little bit of damage before he's backed away, and Fnatic are just running rampant.
Funny story, when you summon the Rift Herald, it's actually not an epic monster. It's just coded as a minion.
Much like many things.
Sure, very true. When Cho'gath feeds the Rift Herald, it actually doesn't give him, you know, one of those stacks that are not minions, you know?
But you know what does?
Exile. Let me just explain that again. So when he feeds him, he gets a stack. But obviously, you can only get 6 stacks from minions, and this one actually counts as one of them, despite it being an epic monster. When it's on the Rift, not when it's not dead.
Riot,
yeah, I'm like, come on, that needs to be changed.
It's a pretty epic monster as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. I mean, I guess if you feast it when it's in the pit, it might give you one, but I'm actually not sure if it counts as an epic monster there.
Earliest Baron all summer, paging the stats team. I know this will be, but please just confirm it for me. If they secure it, because UOL, they want to contest.
You can see the teleport coming in. Exile is dead, though. Fnatic, they're more than happy to just turn around and fight.
Look at that. Soaz goes in with a dunk. The hero's entrance knocks up UOL. Earliest This Baron gets interrupted, but the Unicorns are routed and running for their lives. Exile's got the package, but it will not be enough to save the day. Soaz is on a killing spree. Broxah's hungry for more. Feast is not available for further stacks, and Exile actually jumps into the fray. Glacial Prison buys some time. Caps wins at war. Will get another 11-0. Caps runs for his life. The Dazzle finds no target as Caps may go down. Exile's on the board.
They killed the tank.
The Unicorns got their first kill of the game.
Yeah, they got a raid boss down. Now they need 4 more.
Oh, Fnatic, they look so dominant. 5-0-5 Cho'gath. Broxah is a machine right now, nomming his way through the opposition, and it's so difficult for Unicorns. They want to try and go for the smite steal, but Fnatic saying, nay, we're just going to force a fight instead. Jesiz is saying, you know what, everyone can have a ticket to the gem show, as the fight goes heavily in favor of Fnatic.
Don't think a fight or war has ever been started by saying nay just before it.
Clearly you have not seen the Holy Grail.
Nay! Let's fight these guys.
Plop, 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 plop. I need coconuts. Where did you find coconuts in this climate? Sorry, I got distracted by Monty Python. As apparently so did UOL, because this is not a joke. This is a
But look at this moment here.
heavy-handed smashing.
Here they kill the tank. Boom. He died.
Great analysis there, Deficio.
Hey, when a tank dies, finally, it deserves some focus at least.
Acknowledgement. If anything, it ruins... Oh, actually, Caps' KDA is still fine for the time being.
Yeah, you can always die once, because you can't obviously divide with 0 when you're figuring out the KDA. So one death will still give you the same KDA. 2, on the other hand.
Oof.
That's where it's getting rough.
I heard that Chuck Norris can divide by 0.
Ah. Oh, these guys, they're like...
That's old school.
That's very old school. I didn't know that was modern anymore.
There's a few folks in the audience that are a little closer to my age. They know who Chuck Norris is, and
Everyone
I applaud
knows
you.
who Chuck
Everyone knows who Chuck Norris is.
All right, well, Unicorns of Love are going to need the power of Chuck Norris to bounce back this game. 7,000 gold down, 10 kills down, 2 dragons down. They at least stop the Baron. I mean, that is an advantage, and the kill was secured by Exile.
He still needs 3 more items.
3 more. 30 minutes was the timer we're looking for.
No, yeah, that's true. He needed 30 extra minutes.
Yeah.
But it's getting to a point now where the only real way for Unicorns to come back in is if Fnatic make a pretty significant mistake. If maybe they can get a pick onto Rekkles, there's the possibility, but there's the double TP, the ulties from Fnatic.
Maybe if they have the wrong lane assignments, but oh wait, you don't need lane assignments. You need the mid lane.
You do.
That's all you're looking for.
And the thing is about Fnatic's comp is they can actually send people off to a side lane because it's super easy for them to get back into the mid.
It's very easy for Fnatic right now to keep forcing fights. They're using the Baron as bait once again. They want Unicorns to show up to try and stop it.
Here comes the Nay, get ready for it.
All right, Jarvan has just teleported into the fight. Glacial Prison's decent. Exile's trying to get as much damage down as he can. Here comes Soaz looking for a target. Puts down the Cataclysm. Heroic entrance locks up UOL. Fighting back and peeling backwards. UOL doing pretty well, all things considered. Xerxe goes down as now Unicorns are split up. Fnatic's 5-man unit trying to pick the lane to a round down.
And all we're looking at is all these carries, you know, bruisers, these big tanks. I call them carries right now because in this game they actually are carries right now. They're trying to kill the backline of Unicorns, and Rekkles closes his eyes, auto-attacks the first thing in front of him. Let's see if Caps might die.
Well, Unicorns aren't done yet. Soaz gets a knockup from the Glag and Drag. Rekkles gets his kill of the game. Soaz with a solo onto Exile. No assists needed. 8,000 gold to lead. If you look at the player cams, Soaz has got a gigantic smile on his face when those fights break out. And Fnatic, you know what? We're going back to the Baron, boys.
Well, now he's laughing because he's like, ha, now you have to play the Shen Chachi. Now you know what it's like from my game 1, where you just don't have the same level of impact. The AD carry in this fight, he's just, the only thing he can do is hit Broxah, Caps, or Soaz. That's literally his choices while trying to stay alive.
And the worst part is, they can still kill you, even though they are so hard to kill. You can see how Soaz just jumps on Samux in this fight here. Because this is actually almost the best scenario for Unicorns to get really early Taric ulti from Jesiz. So now, okay, fine, maybe they can try and win. But then Soaz jumps in, takes Samux down to like 30% HP instantly. He can only hit Caps at the moment, so he's still at risk of dying. And meanwhile, Rekkles is just auto-attacking like a crazy madman in the back, and he will at some point kill the front line of Unicorns, and then the fight is over.
Well, Fnatic are playing almost as good as Team Solar Mid in the Rift Rivals finals. destroying UOL this game.
You had to say it, right?
I had to.
You had to bring North America into this.
It's a great performance from Fnatic. I don't want to take anything away from them, but it is also team comp sort of reliant. They've got themselves that Baron. They've got an exposed inhibitor, 10,000 gold lead. And if you look at the itemization, 3 items picked up. Exileh still needs now 15 minutes before he's powered up. And oh, Deficio, Ardent Sensor.
Yes, Redemption coming in next. This is their Taric who will support his team as much as possible. It's not about his own tankiness because he's, again, relying on his own ulti.
He doesn't need any more tankiness to Deficio.
You can always get more.
You certainly can, but I don't know if he's going to have enough time for that because already Fnatic, they're on the inhibitor. Broxah, he gets the knockup.
No follow-up damage yet. Exileh already used that cleanse. All right, the inhibitor has fallen. 2 minutes left on Baron buff as Soaz seems to be the target. Gonna use that Dragon Strike into Marcian Standard to escape to safety. Gentlemen, another pop quiz for you. Rekkles has played 55 games this year in the 2017 EU LCS season. How many of them has he gone deathless?
47.
Okay, he's not that good.
That's a lot.
He's not that good.
I'm saying 25.
Oh, a little too high. If he does not die this game, it will be 21 games out of 57 that Fnatic will unlock a deathless Rekkles. Rekkles is sitting on the front end with that Varus. Goes over the wall thanks to some help from the rest of the squad. Soaz continues to dash forward. The Dazzles are coming out as well as a few Justice Punches, and Fnatic, well, they're having a field day with UOL.
Fnatic with the go button, they just cannot stomp. These tanks are supercharged right now. 27 minutes into the game, they are steamrolling over Unicorns.
Baron buff hasn't even ended. Rekkles on a rampage. Broxah gets another 14 of the 18 kills. Fnatic in one Baron buff. Destroy Unicorns of Love.
Fnatic in one draft destroy Unicorns of Love.
And on that bombshell, they're not done yet. The Shield of Duran under the tower. The Winions knock it down. And Fnatic crush UOL.
It's never been easier being a shot caller in professional League of Legends when you can draft a comp that wants to just 5-on-5 team fight 24/7 around the mid lane specifically. They used the Baron right next to the mid lane to bait a few fights. We talked about it in Champs League, we talked about it in the game. These tanks will not die at this stage of the game here. They need to go full late game for the Corki to even have enough damage to start dealing, enough to actually take down a tank.
Now look at the smiles on the side of Fnatic. They're just ecstatic after that performance. I mean, they gave up 1 kill and they traded 2 towers. You can actually see the squad walking past Finley, and I think that was Dylan Falco as well backstage.
Hiding in the shadows.
And I think that 2 things need to change in the next draft. Number 1, I want to move away from Kalista. She has a lot of mobility, she has a lot of tools to kite, but I still think that as a champion right now against all these tanks, she isn't quite having the same level of impact that you typically like to see from her. But also, I think that this Cho'gath either needs to be banned from whoever's on red side, or find some alternative to kind of match that level of
side
pressure.
selection.
And if they pick blue side, which we expect they will, Fnatic in the first game banned Elise, substitute that with the Cho'gath ban, and then suddenly you actually might have a better win condition for Fnatic, as we saw from what we saw in game 1.
But or alternatively, just match it with something like a Maokai, right? We didn't see it pick this game. I feel like that maybe Unicorns of Love could have gone for a Maokai themselves, so they have that kind of tanky disengage engage tool.
But also, how important and impactful was Xerxe being shut down in the early game? He was 2 levels behind. Broxah had a huge advantage from the early stages. It's something I'd like to explore with you in just a moment, because Fnatic, they came back with an extremely dominant win in game 2. Let's see what the analysts have to say.
First off, Quickshot, I have to praise Yamato because a lot of people predicted Fnatic, a lot of people predicted Unicorns of Love. YamatoCannon predicted blue side, and so far I feel like he's the only person that's been correct. Yet another win here, but of course, the draft was kind of praised as like one of the big factors in this win. Do you think that's fair to say? Do you think it was the draft of Fnatic that won them this game?
For sure, for sure. I think, like stylistically, the draft, of course, from Fnatic side makes the most sense. How many Gargoyle Stone plays do they have at 20 minutes? More than the enemy team. There you go. You set for the victory. No, but honestly speaking, like Fnatic is playing better, more clean. Unicorns of Love are making mistakes where they're getting caught in bushes and inside lane where they shouldn't be. And they truly, truly got the memo after the first game. Don't pick any composition that scale. Just pick this composition that are very simple to play, run it down, and just Team
So
fight.
why is this so powerful? Because we've mentioned briefly, a lot of people have been talking about like different potential options where maybe there is something you can do to play around these tank compositions. Are we just waiting for someone to discover that, or is this really just the point where right now in League of Legends on 7.14, tanks are the only way to play the game?
No, of course, it's a bit more complicated than just running it down, right? It's easy to say, but this is the easy explanation. But in this game, you know, there's a lot of things that were at stake here. Caps had the Galio into the Corki. Corki is not going to have priority into Galio ever in the game. That kind of disables Shen from playing into bottom because Galio is going to freely roam. So they're not going to be able to play around this Kalista. She's going to be behind the Varus because they're going to have, Fnatic's going to have the tempo in the early game. That means Kalista is going to be behind, and all of a sudden you'll scale worse into the game and you'll have a lot of trouble, right? This is the complicated version of running it down, right?
Yeah.
And then eventually when Jarvan is getting through his early lane phase against Shen, he's going to win the split. He gets priority against Shen, and then all of a sudden they can do this grouping in mid while also being very CS efficient, right? Usually what you want to look for against these composition is that you beat them on side, you're more CS efficient, and eventually you outscale them. That is the goal against this full tank composition. But right now, you can also argue that it's too strong because of all these items that have been thrown across the Summoner's Rift, right?
We did see Exileh build a Gargoyle Stoneblade on Talon in our first game, so it might be an indicator that item's a bit too strong. Just as one last champion to look at, I wanted your opinion on Kalista in general. She's a pick I've been seeing a lot more. Some games she feels like the most powerful champion. Other games I feel like all she's useful for is saving a support and then throwing them back into a team fight. Where do you feel like she sits currently in the meta?
I think Kalista has its place for sure. It's very, very strong in the bot lane. You can match a lot of supports. All these melee supports that everyone's playing in the bot lane work very, very well with Kalista. But the main problem with Kalista is that if you lose the early game and you're behind on items, all of a sudden you actually don't do anything on Kalista. That is how it looks like. Every time Kalista's behind, she doesn't really do much, but she has this strength. She's very strong around that 6 mark. Ultimate is very, very powerful. She has a very good item path in the early game, and this is what you need to abuse when it comes to Kalista. And also with the tank matchup, like all the tanks coming in as well, Kalista is very good at killing these tanks. She's bouncing around. It's hard to grab onto her, and she also has this Blade and Winking build path, so it makes sense in the current state of the meta.
Definitely saw that she was difficult to kill. Not as difficult, definitely in that second game as we saw in game 1. Well, Fnatic started their road to victory with a clutch fight, and Henning is ready to break it down for us.
Thank you very much, Drakos. We're here because Fnatic won the game, partly because they were able to utilize and abuse the willingness from Unicorns of Love to take this sort of early fights into the big tank comps. And that's exactly what we're going to be watching right now on the Telestrator. There was a team fight early on in the jungle. And what is going on in the minds of the Unicorns of Love here? As we roll the clip, we see Broxah going in towards his own jungle, while Soaz is pushing up the bottom lane. In the minds of the Unicorns of Love, as we pause now, we can see that Broxah is out here in his own jungle. Soaz is far down in the bottom lane. There's the arrow. And Jesiz has already been chunked low and does not have his exhaust from a previous fight. So what a great opportunity to catch out this overextended Cho'gath, right? That's what's going on in the minds of the Unicorns of Love. As we roll the clip, we have to remember that Exileh does not have Trinity Force completed on his Corki, and there's no Blade of the Ruined King on the Tristana. As we pause the clip here, we can see that they've used so many cooldowns. Everybody's been jumping in to try to catch out Broxah, but the team of Fnatic has been able to come in to save him. So here's the team from Fnatic. We see that Broxah and Jesiz has been brought low, but the Taric ulti and the Galio ulti has already come down to save them. As a team from Unicorns of Love, they're still healthy on HP, but all the important ultimates and a lot of the mana bar on Exileh, crucially, have been used to get Broxah and Jesiz low. Now what's going on in the bottom lane while this is happening? Well, we can see Soaz is starting to make his way up here. And without the cooldowns from the Unicorns of Love, we can see here, as we're going to roll the clip once more, that at this point, they've realized we cannot catch out Broxah, we cannot catch out Jesiz, so we're just going to try to get out. 3-man taunt there from Caps, and we pause again as Soaz is coming in. Here we see the Jarvan jumping in. Caps is low, but is able to flash out. And as we go over here, we can see Jesiz and Broxah both low. Caps is low, but Rekkles and Soaz. As we go here, 1, 2. These are the players on Fnatic that matters at the moment. Soaz is going to be able to clean this up, and Rekkles on this Varus, very crucially, is going to be able to utilize his passive really well in this fight. 40% attack speed upon killing a champion for 5 seconds. You can almost think of Varus kind of like a reset champion. As we roll the clip once more, we can see here that they're just able to burst out the Unicorns of Love, make them run away, and there's pretty much nothing you can do if you're the Unicorns in this situation. We can also see that Exileh is going to get caught out, and while Vizicsacsi is going to be able to get away, this was 3 very important kills for Fnatic in a very snowball game, utilizing the tank comp well, and abusing the willingness from the Unicorns of Love to take these early to mid-game fights. With that said, Fnatic and Unicorns of Love are ready for one last battle to decide the series. It's all come down to this, ladies and gentlemen. Don't go anywhere.
Topside.
Alright, Chain of Corruption is available. Flash comes out from Jesiz. Samux is the target. Chain of Corruption gonna get fired in a moment or two. It's a Fnatic party. Unicorns flash out to safety. Stand United by some time. Broxah gets another. That's a 4th for Fnatic. And Exile's running for his life.
No, I thought you were hitting Cat.
Hero's entrance knocks up UOL. Earliest Baron gets interrupted, but the Unicorns are routed and running for their lives. Exile's got the package, but it will not be enough to save the day.
Now, 27 minutes into the game, they are steamrolling over Unicorns.
Baron buff hasn't even ended. Rekkles on a rampage. And on that bombshell, they're not done yet. The Shield of Duran under the tower. The Winions knock it down. And Fnatic crush UOL.